Hey agents, if you're calling insurance leads and you ever hear, I need to think about it, good. That's your invitation to make a sale right now. Most agents hear that and instantly think the call is dead. They freeze up, try to push harder, or worse, politely excuse themselves from the conversation, thinking they'll make a sale when they follow up later. Here's the truth you've got to tattoo on your brain. According to Peter Roberts, less than 2% of scheduled callbacks ever close. The best shot you really have is this call right now, so you need to make every second count. Let's break down exactly how you can handle I need to think about it. Using Peter Roberts' 5-step process, these are the same steps he used to write over $550,000 in his first year, working the same tough leads you have in front of you. The steps are acknowledge, isolate, find the concern, solve the concern, and loop. Nail these and you'll pull sales out of leads most agents would toss in the trash. Step 1 is acknowledge. Never fight the objection, roll with it. When a prospect hits you with, I need to think about it, come in with, absolutely. It's smart to take your time with important decisions. This instantly disarms them, especially if they've had other agents try to bulldoze them in the past. With insurance leads, chances are they've heard every sales pitch under the sun. What they haven't heard is someone who actually respects where they're coming from. Right after you acknowledge, you move to isolate. You don't just accept their objection at face value and hesitate. Instead, step straight into, when you say you need to think about it, is it more about the monthly price that's got you unsure? Or are you thinking over whether you need this kind of protection right now? You're not letting them hide behind a vague answer. You're getting to the root. Most times when people say think about it, it isn't really about thinking. It's about a concern they don't want to say directly, especially true with insurance leads, who are wary because they've dealt with so many agents before. Your job is to find out what's underneath. This is step 3, find the concern. Let's say your prospect says, I'm just not sure I can pay $67 every month. Now you've got the real issue. You reflect it. So it sounds like you do want the coverage, but you're concerned about stretching your budget too thin. Am I hearing that right? When you found the underlying worry, it's your turn to solve the concern. This is step 4. Don't pitch some generic plan, personalize it. Let's see if we can make this easy for you. What if we started with a smaller policy, maybe $8,000 in coverage instead of $12,000? That can bring your monthly payment down to where you feel comfortable. That way your family is protected, you're not overextended, and you can always increase later if it feels right. Does that sound fair? But here's what separates closers from quitters: looping. Because often right here, you'll get another, let me think about it. That's normal, and that's when step 5 comes in, loop. Never just accept that no or not yet. Go right back through the steps, looping the process calmly, each time narrowing in tighter on what's really making them hesitate. Of course, I want you to feel absolutely good about this. Is it mainly the price you want to sleep on, or is there something else? Maybe specific details you want to look over before making a decision? If they keep circling back, you keep looping. Each time, calmly isolate a new concern, solve it, and suggest a little next step. If you saw all the information in writing, how much, what's covered, how to make a claim, would that help you feel more sure right now? Or, are you worried about making the payment today? Or would it help if we scheduled the policy to start on your payday next week? Your goal is to address every layer right here on the call, not to hang up and hope they answer when you dial again. Even better, anchor your conversation to their original motivation. I noticed you first looked into final expense coverage about 6 months ago. Can I ask, what made you start thinking about this back then? If you get them talking about the reason they became a lead, taking care of family, covering burial expenses, leaving a legacy, you can gently loop that back when you suggest a solution. You told me you want to make sure your daughter isn't left with a big burden. I think this plan, with a payment that's truly doable for you, actually checks those boxes. Should we lock this in so you both get that peace of mind? You'll almost always need to do at least 3 loops with insurance leads. Every time you do, you move a little closer to the real concern, and you show them you're not like every other agent who gave up after the first half-hearted objection. Let's run a model for your calls. Agent: that makes total sense, Ms. Jackson. Important decisions deserve a little thought. Just so I can help you best, is it mostly the monthly amount making you hesitate, or are you thinking through whether now's the right time? Prospect: honestly, the monthly payment is a big deal. I'm on a fixed income. Agent: absolutely. That's the last thing I'd want to put you in a tight spot. If we drop the coverage a bit to bring the payment down, would that feel better? Or is the timing just not right for you at all? Prospect: that might help, but I do just want to sleep on it. Agent: Of course, one last quick question, if that's okay. If you knew for sure your daughter was protected and it didn't mess with your budget, would that be worth locking in now instead of risking having to qualify again later when rates go up? See the pattern, you keep gently relooping. Acknowledge, they're valid. Isolate, get specific. Find the true concern. They'll get real on round 2 or 3. Suggest something that directly solves what's holding them up. Lower payment, later start date, written info, whatever. Then loop. Don't let them off the call with a vague promise to think if you haven't peeled away every layer. With aged insurance leads, you're usually not the first agent to try, but this method is exactly why you might be the last. Your willingness to calmly keep looping, ask questions, and suggest realistic solutions shows them you're committed to helping, not just closing. To wrap up section 1, remember, I need to think about it isn't a door closing, it's the start of a real conversation. Stick to the acknowledge, isolate, find the concern, solve the concern, and loop process, and you'll turn aged insurance leads into real, bankable clients, just like Peter Roberts. In section 2, we're going to tackle I need to speak to my spouse. This one is everywhere with insurance leads and can feel like a wall. But if you use these same steps, you'll be surprised how you can turn that stall into a strong yes. Ready for the next unlock? Let's get into it. Section 2, turning I need to speak to my spouse into a yes, even with aged insurance leads. All right, let's dive into section 2, the classic stall. I need to speak to my spouse. If you're running through a pile of aged insurance leads, you'll hear this one all the time. And if you treat it like an immovable obstacle, you'll miss out on some of your biggest commissions. The key is knowing this isn't actually about their spouse, not at first. It's about their comfort, power, and sometimes just needing a little more certainty before deciding. Your job as an insurance agent is to use the same 5 steps: acknowledge, isolate, find the concern, solve the concern, and loop, right there on the call. Don't buy the stall, and definitely don't fall for the callback trap. Step 1, acknowledge. The minute you hear, I need to talk to my spouse, you meet it head on, not with resistance, but with understanding. Try this. That's smart. Making decisions together is how strong families work. I totally respect that. You set the tone of respect, not confrontation or pressure, which puts you on their side. With aged leads, this is a fresh breath. They expect you to push, so meeting them with agreement instantly makes you stand out. Now isolate. Don't stop at accepting their objection, or you'll be right back in that 2% callback statistic graveyard. Instead, gently clarify. When you say you want to speak with your spouse, is that because you're both working out the finances together, or is there something specific you want to run by them? So, this does 2 critical things. It positions you as an advisor rather than a closer, and it quickly starts filtering out whether it's a true need or a buffer hiding another concern. Once you get their answer, move to finding the real concern. Often the spouse isn't the problem at all. It's the price, the timing, or just the fear of making a big decision alone. Here's where you dig a little deeper. Totally get it. Is it mainly about making sure the payment works for you both? Or does your spouse usually have more questions about what you're signing up for? Sometimes people just want to be sure everyone's on board, especially with something as important as this. If the prospect reveals, she'll want to be sure it's not going to stretch us, or he wants to know exactly what's covered, you know you've hit pay dirt. Now move to solve the concern, but do it collaboratively. Time to use the hypothetical spouse technique Peter Roberts loves, because it works wonders with aged leads. Guide the prospect like this. Let's say your spouse was right here with us, and I laid out the plan details side by side. Which option do you think they'd be most comfortable with? Wait for their response. If they say probably the cheaper one, use that. Great. Why don't we go with something smaller, just to get you covered and make sure you both feel secure? If your spouse wants to adjust it up or down after you talk, we can make that happen. How does that feel to you? See what's happening? You're moving the sale forward right now, but you're giving them power and a fallback. If their spouse wants a change later, adjustments can be made. They don't have to risk missing out on coverage, and they don't have to say yes to the biggest plan now either. Still sensing hesitation? Here comes the crucial loop step. Don't tap out. Circle back with respect and a new angle. Listen, I totally get wanting to have your spouse in the loop. If she's anything like my wife, she'll appreciate you taking care of this. What would be her biggest worry? Monthly payment or making sure everything's clear and official? Each time you loop, you uncover a new layer. No pressure, no rush, just honest curiosity. Don't let them off with a, let me check and get back to you. Nobody ever comes back. Instead, offer more structure. How about this? We get you started with the basic protection now so your family isn't at risk if something unexpected happens. Then tonight, you show your spouse everything. There's a full 30 days if she wants any changes or has questions. Plus, you know you've got something in place. Would that give you peace of mind? Throughout the entire conversation, keep looping. Each time, bring it back to their original request for family security. It's clear you want to make sure your spouse is on board and your family is protected. Is the right monthly amount the only thing she'd question, or is it also about the company and the coverage details? With Age Insurance Leads, persistence is everything. You already know you're one of several agents who've called. The ones who succeed are the ones willing to loop through this process until they've genuinely uncovered the last concern. Each time you loop, you're not being annoying, you're being thorough. Respect the relationship, but don't surrender to inertia. Here's a sample flow. Agent: absolutely, I support you talking to your wife. Decision like this affects both of you. Out of curiosity, when you bring this up, what will be the first question she asks you? How much it costs each month or what kind of coverage it is? Prospect: she'll definitely want to know what it covers. She wants to know she's not being tricked. Agent: makes sense. If I send everything over line by line so nothing's hidden, does that help? Plus, you have a free look period. If either of you see a problem, you can cancel with zero penalty. Would putting that in place now help you both breathe a little easier? Prospect: that actually sounds good, but I still feel a little nervous. Agent: normal to feel that way. Nobody loves making decisions like this alone. But you know your family best. If you make the call that gets them protected now, you can always tweak the details later. Do you see any reason not to put something basic in place today, just as a safety net? Do you see the difference? Every answer you get is just another chance to loop, solve, and ask if their real concern has been addressed. The biggest thing to remember, if you guide someone through this process respectfully and confidently, you're not only the agent who closed the sale, you're the agent who earned their trust, something every spouse in the world values. So to recap this section, the "I need to speak to my spouse" objection is just another path to a sale, not the end of the call. With aged leads, it's often a safe line people use to hide their real worry. Help them get honest, help them feel safe by using Peter Roberts' 5 steps, and then guide them, respectfully but confidently, to take action now. The ones who loop win. In the next and final section, we're going to tackle maybe the most common pushback with aged leads. I have to look at my budget first. How you handle the price versus value objection and turn budget hesitation into a policy sold. Let's get into it. Section 3, I have to look at my budget first. Closing budget objections. With aged insurance leads, we've hit "I need to think about it." We've tackled "I need to speak to my spouse." And now it's time for maybe the most common and misunderstood objection, especially with aged leads. I have to look at my budget first. For insurance agents dialing on aged leads, this one feels like a gut punch because it almost always comes up after some conversation, after they've heard your pitch, and right when you're hoping to move forward. But remember, this is not the end. This is simply another concern, and when you use the 5-step framework, you can turn it into a chance to close. Let's walk through it, step by step. Step 1 is acknowledge. Never dismiss a budget objection or make the lead feel like their concern isn't real. You open with empathy and respect. Absolutely, I hear you. Making sure this fits your monthly budget is the #1 concern for most of my clients. I'd never want you to commit to something if it would make things tight. Instantly, you're on their team, not another agent trying to hustle them, but someone who gets what it really means to worry about money. With aged leads, this makes you stand out immediately. They've likely spoken to agents who tried to pressure them or promise savings without listening to their real-world situation. Now you move to isolate. Don't just let budget hang as a vague excuse. Zero in with a gentle question. When you say you need to look at your budget, is the amount we discussed today a stretch for you, or is it more about wanting to look over all your bills just to be doubly sure before making a decision? You want specifics. Maybe they're reacting to the number you've quoted, maybe they're trying to slow down the call, or maybe the real issue is just fear of any commitment. Once they answer, you transition straight into step 3, find the concern. This is where real human conversation happens. Let them get detailed. Do they have a fixed income? Are they paying off medical bills? Maybe a spouse just lost a job, or they're worried about a future bill. You go further than other agents do. I get it. A lot of folks on fixed incomes have to plan carefully. Is it the cost you're worried about every single month, or just getting started right now? Open the door for honesty and keep your tone supportive. Here's where aged leads behave differently. Often the objection is layered. The quoted price might spook them, especially if another agent in the past pitched a big policy, or they're genuinely worried about having enough left after the basics. Your job is to drill down to the root. So if they say, yeah, that $67 is just a lot each month, you mirror and clarify. So making sure you don't get overextended is the most important thing for you. Is that right? This shows you're listening and builds trust. Now, solve the concern. This is the go-to move. Offer a practical, easy out. Not a discount, but a smart adjustment. Here's an idea. What if we look at a more modest coverage plan to start? If we ease that monthly payment down to something in the $30, $40 range, you're still getting real protection without overcommitting. Later, if things feel better or your situation changes, you can always add coverage. Would that let you breathe easier about this? If their worry is about when the payment hits, not just how much, offer flexible solutions. Would it help if you didn't make your first payment until your next Social Security deposit? We can set the start date so it lines up with your income, so there's no stress getting started. Does that make it feel more doable? Sometimes you'll uncover that the real issue isn't the price or the timing, but the need for reassurance, making sure what they're paying for is truly worth it. In that case, pivot to value. What a lot of people realize is, even a smaller policy means your family isn't left scrambling to pay for final expenses. That peace of mind, knowing you're not leaving a burden, is sometimes the best gift you can leave. Would a small policy still give you peace of mind? Now, the all-important step 5, loop. Don't settle for the first no, and don't bail just because they repeat the budget concern. Go right back to the top, but with each loop, bring a new angle or a softer nudge. Aside from the monthly payment, is there anything else holding you back right now? Maybe understanding the policy or uncertainty about the insurance company? And tackle each issue as it appears, looping back with confidence and calm. Let's put this in a real dialogue. Agent, I totally get wanting to look carefully at your budget. If you had to pick a comfort zone, what's a monthly amount that wouldn't make you worry? Prospect, I think $35 is probably as high as I'd feel good about. Agent, perfect. Let's look at what kind of coverage fits there. Remember, something is always better than nothing. And you can always revisit this if things change. If we can get you covered at that $35, are you ready to take care of this today so you can stop worrying about it? Prospect, that sounds fair. I can handle that. Agent, awesome. Let's get started, and I'll make sure every detail is lined up for your peace of mind. If the prospect pushes back again, because prospects almost always circle the track at least once or twice, you keep looping. Agent, no problem at all. Just so I'm clear, do you want time to look everything over, or is it that you have other priorities you're worried about this month? I only want you to do this if it truly fits your needs and budget. Prospect, I just want to see how it all works. Agent, let's do this. I'll get everything in writing, we'll review it together, and if something doesn't look right, we can adjust or even cancel. No strings. That way, you're never stuck. Sound good? With Aged Leads, you're earning trust every time you listen, every time you suggest a real-world solution instead of a pitch. You're proving you aren't chasing a commission, you're solving a problem. The final loop, if needed, is to close on value, not fear. You started looking for coverage a while back because you wanted to make sure your family was taken care of. $35 a month for that kind of security is less than a cup of coffee a day. If this covers your most important goal, is there any reason not to put it in place right now so you can check this off your list? Sometimes, just that reframing, the price compared to daily habits, the benefit versus the cost, helps prospects finally own their decision. So, to wrap it up, the budget objection isn't a brick wall. It's more like a locked door, and you have the key if you use Peter Roberts' framework. Acknowledge, isolate, find the concern, solve the concern, and loop. With Aged Insurance Leads, these skills turn "let me check my budget" into "let's get this done," and they turn forgotten files into actual policyholders. If you work this 5-step process, not just as a checklist, but as your second language, you'll start seeing Aged Leads in a new light, not as dead ends, but as your most consistent source of sales. Every no is just a little resistance, waiting to be understood and solved. And every call is your chance to stand out and become the agent they remember, the one who finally listened. That's how Peter Roberts did it, and how you can too. Pair these techniques with Aged Insurance Leads, and you will have a combo that will give you the greatest return on investment. If you want to learn how Aged Insurance Leads can increase your bottom line, contact Stellar Prospects today to request our current price list and find out about our latest special that we are doing this month.